The political conditions of the Middle Ages were sectioned with the Church, the lords, and the kings. The Church was the overall government for the Middle Ages. The Church created laws which everyone had to obey. The lords, who obeyed the kings, controlled all the lands that they gave out to the knights. The lords also overlooked and controlled their serfs that worked for them. The kings were powerful, but mostly overlooked by the church and had to obey the church's laws. The economy of the Middle Ages was focused around feudalism. Feudalism was mainly built upon relationships of obligations and services of the knights. Knights were paid for their services with land from their lords. This system would sometimes get complex, which would sometimes cause problems. It would cause problems because sometimes the lords couldn't keep track of what land they were giving out and what knights could receive the land. The main religion focused in the Middle Ages was Christianity. Charlemagne wanted to preserve and spread Christian teaching to improve education. He worked closely with the church to create a unified Christian empire. He even ordered people from the military campaigns to convert to Christianity under death penalty. Charlemagne also sent monks to help Christianity take root. The social conditions of the Middle Ages, not including the churches and the kings, were mostly the lords, knights, and peasants. The peasants of the Middle Ages mostly farmed, and also farmed lords' lands. The lords gave the peasants protection and plots of land in return. Most peasants were serfs. They were tied to their lord, their manor lord they worked for. Serfdom was hereditary. So if one's father or mother was a serf, the child had to be a serf too. The lords are higher in the social class than knights and peasants. They controlled all the land and their serfs. The knights were soldiers in battle who worked for the lords to get land in return. The Crusades had 9 wars which were fought between the Christians and Muslims. Even though the Crusades did not get the result that they wanted, these wars had long-lasting effects. The wars brought more goods back to Europe when returning, which increased Europe in trade. Not only did it affect trade, but it did affect economy and the feudalism. Because of the many deaths of knights, all their lands that the knights owned were vulnerable, and the lord took over. Another good effect was that they brought back Muslim knowledge to Europe, which made people more knowledgeable and literate. The printing press was created by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-1400s. He casted the letters of the alphabet onto metal plates and locked them into a wooden press. This amazing method made producing books faster and easier, making them available to many people. Because there were many books being created, more people wanted to get these books, so more people wanted to learn to read. Because more and more books were available to people, more ideas and knowledge were created. The Black Death swept across the continent between 1347 and 1351. It was thought it was spread by fleas that were on rats. 25 million Europeans died from the Black Death. The Black Death affected the religious conditions in the next era. Also, partially the economic conditions because it ended the manorial system. New farming technology also helped lead to the Renaissance. New technology, like plows, helped lead to lower prices in food. These lower food prices greatly affected the economic conditions in the next era. Church corruption was another event that led to the transition to the Renaissance. People lost respect for priests, monks, and popes. Heavy taxation and the sale of indulgence were the problems. Also, nationalism began to grow. Nationalism is where people follow the government more than the church. So because of this, people began to consider themselves citizens of the government rather than the church. Political conditions of the Renaissance were that kings became way more powerful. This is because the kings got to take over the land that the Crusades lost. Also, the kings owned the Italian city-states, which were a big change to the Renaissance. The economy was very good in the era of the Renaissance. Because of the Crusades, the Renaissance era was able to trade with Asia. With more goods, more merchants could work, which made more jobs in the cities. With many jobs people had, more money was earned, which meant more money was spent. Their money spent was more on luxury products, which the Italian city-states brought. Religious conditions in the Renaissance were very bad. People started to lose faith in the church from the effect of the Black Death and the printing press. Because the printing press offered many books, including the Bible, people started to read the Bible and question what it was saying. Also, the Black Death played a role. People also questioned why God let all those people die, and that He didn't cure anyone. They also wondered why that wasn't working out. Social conditions in the Renaissance were a very good improvement from the social conditions in the Middle Ages. Middle-class merchants were beginning to develop from the increase in trade from the Crusades. More towns were created from the increase in trade also. Other than the rise of middle-class merchants, people were becoming more literate from the printing press. The printing press, like I said before, gave many books available to many people, which gave them encouragement to learn to read.